everyone, and welcome to Autism Awareness Australia's Autism Safety Series. My name's Nicole, and today I'm joined by three incredible autism parents and advocates, Catherine, Vanessa, and Brianna, to talk about autism and safety. Now, before we begin, we'd like to remind everyone, if something discussed in this video raises some issues for you, there's always support available. There's the Carer Gateway you can contact via phone or email, or if more urgent support, please contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. Well, these ladies are not only proud parents of children on the autism spectrum, they're also major contributors to the autism community through their work and lots of advocacy. So let's go around and introduce ourselves. Vanessa, we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Vanessa. First and foremost, I'm a mum of 5 children. My third son, Adrian, has a dual diagnosis of Down syndrome and autism. He's moderately to severely developmentally and intellectually delayed, nonverbal, incontinent. He will be 21 in November. Has behavioural issues here and there, but I'm sure we all have. There's always someone worse, right? There's always something worse. Other than that, I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Autism Community Network, which is an organisation which has been around for over 12 years. We provide free support to autistic families, so activities for children with autism, adults with autism, with social evenings, key focus on carers, and advice and advocacy and all of that. But it's a pleasure to be here, Nicole. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming, Vanessa. Love all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Kat, we'll turn to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Piraboom. I am the mother to 3 beautiful neurodivergent children. Similar to Vanessa, they all have multiple diagnoses. I have been Australia's leading autism and law enforcement trainer now for close to a decade. And we've expanded that to first responders and additional disabilities and vulnerabilities. I have multiple hats in different charities, but they're all within the space. And I do it as a badge of honour for my children and for the greater community.
Thanks for joining us, Kat. And Bri, what about you?
Hi, I am the sole parent of 2 kids with complex autism. I am a journalist, I'm an advocate and a carer. I was part of the team that put together the award-winning Disability Reporting Handbook, in which we feature a large chapter on autism. Big advocate for changing the way we represent people with autism and all kind of disability within the media space. I also hail from the ACN. I spent a long time there as a volunteer, and I can totally vouch for the work that the ACN does, and under Vanessa's tutelage in particular. So, that's sort of my history. I'm a sole parent, so I add a different kind of complexity to that. I'm the only one in my household who doesn't actually have an autism diagnosis, and I've learned a lot in that time of being their parents.
Well, welcome and thank you for joining us today. I'm Nicole Hurley. I work at Autism Awareness Australia. I head up the partnerships and fundraising team here, and I'm a parent of 2 beautiful boys, and my eldest is on the autism spectrum. So we're going to start our conversation around autism safety, and this is part 1. And the conversation today is about safety in familiar environments. So whether that be at home, in schools, or somewhere else like grandparents' houses. And it's all about creating and maintaining a safe and familiar place, which we know is crucial for the wellbeing of autistic children, people, and also their families and carers. We'll be discussing safety in unfamiliar environments in part 2 of the Autism Safety Series. So make sure you've subscribed and to our channel to be notified when that's released. So let's talk about familiar environments. And Kat, I'm going to throw to you first. Around safety is all about modification. Can you share how you've modified familiar places such as home and school to accommodate safety concerns for your sons?
Absolutely. So safety very quickly became a huge concern in our household as our children really started to explore. And whilst all 3 of my boys have they actually have the same diagnoses, they couldn't be more different in the way that they navigate the world. So let's start with the home setting. So from a physical point of view, we had to basically put padlocks on so many doors, side doors. One of my boys loves, he has pica, and his preference is frozen items. And we have stocks of chicken nuggets and a whole range of things. So we required a chest freezer. Very quickly, we found him inside of the chest freezer. So again, padlocks became really huge part of our home. Swimming pools, making sure that there are different protocols and safety procedures around gates, because it's really easy for someone to just get a stool, lean over and pull over that latch. And a lot of our community really have an affinity with water. So making sure that you've got those spaces there, understanding of water safety, again, is really, really huge. We've got, I've had my boys sadly abscond on more than one occasion, and it is absolutely terrifying for every single person involved. So one of the things that my husband and I do every single evening is do a safety protocol house check. We go around to every single door, every single window, and we make sure that it's triple checked, and we check each other's work. It helps us sleep at night and just know that the children are safe. One of the things that we also did, especially in this beautiful Gold Coast area that we live in, is that we familiarised and introduced ourselves to our neighbours. It's so important that if they're hearing the children stimming, if they're out in the backyard and they're making noises that seem to be unfamiliar, or if they do get out of the property, or if they're climbing over a fence, if you've got someone who does like to do that, that they know who they are and they're a known quantity and they can assist you rather than trying to manage everything on your own. Most of the time, people are genuine and they do like to help. So just familiarising yourself there too. From a personal safety point of view, we put things away everywhere. So medicines in the house are in a lockable space that the children can't get to. Knives are put away somewhere different. Access to the garage where there are power tools and things that look cool and shiny and plug into electricity, they're all put away. We have locks on bathroom doors because going in and turning on the hot shower tap because they wanted water. So the more and more that you start to familiarise yourself with your children's interests within the home, you can become more vigilant, you can get on top of things, and you can stay ahead of the curve. On a school front, and I'll wrap this up really quickly, but on a school front, I have my boys in a specialised school now, but my youngest did start in a mainstream school. So the two core things that I looked at was the security perimeters around the school. If they had fences that were sitting at my waist, that was just not acceptable for my standard levels for my child, knowing who my child was. And then the next thing was understanding the school's protocols around collection and drop-offs, mainly collections, because I don't want somebody who is not a registered care provider for my family or a family member to be able to go to that school. So understanding that and explaining to the educators what my children are likely to do in a school setting that would be unsafe for them, unsafe for other students, and particularly, just the educator setting. So they're the couple of things I think that I really wanted to raise. As we've said, this conversation could expand for a really long time, but that were just some of the core things.
Amazing points, Kat, and I think I've taken a few notes too about things that I might not have considered in our homes. So thank you very much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And Bri, although an environment might be familiar to an autistic child like home or school, it doesn't mean that it's 100% safe, right? What do you believe are the most overlooked safety risks in homes or schools for autistic children?
I think from my own experience, my own complacency, and I don't mean that I'm not vigilant. I'm crazy vigilant. But sometimes I think, right, I've got everything sorted. Everything's done now. But children are growing. They're curious. They're developing new ideas and new skills. They're now able to do things that you didn't know they could do, such as jump a very high fence, things like that. So I think my first bit of advice is to always, I basically do a safety sit rep in familiar environments as much as unfamiliar environments, based on how tall they're getting, how bold they're getting, how confident they're getting, how scared they might be. We've got to bear in mind that even safe environments become risky environments when that child is not coping with something. So what people talk about meltdowns, I consider them just simply fight or flight responses or freeze responses. So a situation that might not normally be an unsafe situation can become a risky one when that child is doing whatever they can to protect themselves from whatever is going on around them, whether it's, some high drama happening outside. So, there's sirens going off, or both of my children have autism. So if the elder brother is having trouble and is loudly stimming and or screaming or self-harming, we've had those situations with him. The younger one panics and he's not coping, and now he responds in a different way, and he goes straight into fight or flight situation, and that's how we've learned. Sadly, probably very similar to you, Catherine, he's able to jump a very high fence if he needs to. So these things that I just assumed would always protect us don't necessarily protect us. So I think that it's not just about being conscious of the physical environment, it's also about being conscious of the state of mind that your child is in. How are they coping? What would they do in order to help themselves cope that might not be a safe thing to do?
Vigilance has come up from both of you. Vanessa, we know that vigilance is something autism parents know all too well. How do you stay vigilant when it comes to the safety of your children?
It's really hard. I mean, it's like both Catherine and Brianna was saying. It's you're kind of on, like, unfortunately, a lot of the time, and like being full honest and I guess a bit vulnerable. It's just that we're on eggshells. And I think people don't talk about it. We talk about the good things about autism, which is great. There's so many good things. But for someone who's got a child with autism who's nonverbal, like Adrian's 21 in November, we've had so many situations where he's just disappeared, because they do a blink of an eye, they're gone. So similar to Catherine, we do the whole, is everything locked? Are the windows closed? We've got screens on the windows. We've got the doors locked, deadlocks. We've got, which, then that comes under restrictive behaviour. But realistically, it's not 1950s these days. Everyone locks their door. I don't see that as restrictive behaviour. I just see that as a safety for the whole family. But for Adrian, even more so, because we've had times where one of the worst moments of our lives, talking about falling, Adrian did. One day I came home from work. We were going to go up for dinner. We were all here. Someone opened the front door. Since then, everyone knows who comes into our house, you never, ever open the front door until someone has Adrian. Yeah. Adrian got out. I got to the door. Where's Adrian? Everyone's playing at the front, with a family member. And then your heart sinks because you just feel it. Adrian was gone. Because he had, like you guys have talked about, fences, jumped the fence before, our 6-foot fence on the side of the house. I ran next door. We've got a river down the road because they love water, our kids, don't they? It's a common theme there. So we just ran. One of us ran up to the train station just up the road. One of us my son ran down to the river. My other son got in his car because he just got his pee. So everyone was driving around. And cut a long story short, that was at 6:15. And I think in relation to vigilance, sometimes in situations like that, we know now because we're calm, everything's cool, we know where our kids are right now. In a situation like that, the first thing I would do now is you've got to call the police, you've got to call hospitals, you've got to do this and that. No, I'm screaming up the street, running like a mad woman, even though he's not verbal and he can't say, Mum, I'm here, because the road's a busy road and a child had just been hit by a car and airlifted to hospital a few weeks earlier. I'm screaming Adrian, like in Rocky, but it wasn't in a good way. And so I'm Adrian, nowhere. So I ring my brother and I'm like, Dan, you got to come help me. Adrian's gone. And it's sometimes that having someone who's not in the situation, because we're in it, right? He's like, V, did you call the police? And I'm like, no, I haven't. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. Because you don't, you just want your kid. And literally, yeah, so 6:15, about just before 9 p.m., Adrian was found. He had fallen, jumped, got pushed, we don't know because we didn't look at the footage, off the second story of the train station, the staircase. And thank God he broke his pelvis to the point that he couldn't move, because he was literally right near the tracks, less than a meter near the tracks. And I don't think he would have been here if he hadn't broken his pelvis. So from then, vigilance became more vigilant than ever, where everything's locked. Anyone who has anything to do with my son, they need to know what we do with them. There's a visual chart every day. This is a chart. Here's companion card. Here's his Medicare card. If there's an emergency, this is what you do. Here's a short version of his behavior plan. If you're going to walk with Adrian down the street, you need to make sure, because he likes to link arms, that your body is the one closest to the road. Things that you don't always think about when you have just, I mean, I've always done with all my kids, I guess, but even more so for him, even though he's nearly 21, you need to make sure you link your arm. He's not near the road, because my child, he has no fear. He doesn't understand death. He doesn't understand what it would feel like. His pain is next level. When he broke his pelvis, the ambulance were meant to take him to hospital. They didn't. So I don't realize that some of our kids have such a high pain threshold. He didn't exhibit any pain. I knew he was in pain because he doesn't say mum, except when he's hurt himself, or like unless it's something really bad, it's mum, like a little baby. That's how I knew there's something wrong. And yeah, so it's vigilance in that way, making sure everybody, any single person who has anything to do with my son, knows what to look out for. If you go to a play park, yeah,
it's a really important point, Vanessa, because we've spoken to this point about the children's safety, and what you're really raising here is the safety protocols for the adults and the carers, and having that keep calm, and these are the processes that we need to do. Your story is exactly my same story, nearly word for word, except he didn't fall off a balcony, but he does exactly the same, completely non-verbal. My older two boys don't have that capability to understand anything. My younger one I can communicate with too, and he's starting to understand. So a little bit more like Bryce's situation with my youngest, but my older two, he will only say mum, 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 mum if he's really in distress or he's really, really hurt. So I think you raised some really, really important points for us, the adults.
And I think that's the thing, because we need that. We need to have something for ourselves, even that checklist. When we're in the moment, but like I said, if there's something that happens, we need to sort of check ourselves and kind of pause for a moment, because we're in that, we just want out, we're mums, we're mama bears, we want to protect our kids, and we need to be able to have, or even have that person that you can pick up the phone, like I did with my brother, to say, B, have you called the police?
I ran to the neighbours. See, we don't have any family, we're on our own here. So it was introducing ourselves to the neighbours, and when Ollie walked out of the door at 5 a.m, I knocked on their door and I said, Ollie's missing, and she slammed the door in my face, and they both got in their cars, and it was like,
okay, that's good. I thought you were going to say something bad there.
But you know what, Catherine?
Her response of slamming it in my face stunned me, I got onto it. So I was on the phone to the police, my husband, and we still had two other boys asleep. So, there's always room for.
And you know what?
I hate to say it.
I have to say, social media is so important. I mean, sometimes social media, when with our kids, we're like, don't do this, don't look at that, blah, blah, blah. But I have to say, when I was running, and we run very fast when our children go missing. We're very fit at that moment. But at that point, I was ringing people, help, we've got to find Adrian. And then I thought, you know what, Facebook, hi, this is where I live, Adrian's gone missing, help. By the time I got to my house, the police were here, and about close to 20 people. Some I hadn't seen in years. Some weren't even in my other kids' classes. And for those almost 3 hours, everyone was looking for him. So the power of social media in that situation. And in fact, one of the reasons they found him is because we've got a hotel or pub up the road. One of my friends on the Central Coast, God bless her, wanted to help me. She saw the message. She has 3 autistic children herself. She did something which I didn't even think of, which is something that I think we should all keep in mind, and why it's really important for, if you live in a place where there's shops or something really close by, let them see your sons or your children. Let them know your children. She rang every single shop in the area, and the pub, because they have video footage, which now we have video footage, we have cameras out the front as well, but the pub saw a photo of my son, and that photo, coincidentally, that we put on Facebook was us having dinner one day there. They recognized the plants behind him. That man had a son with autism as well. He's contacted the police because the club has a relationship with the police. So this is working hand in hand. They pulled up the cameras. They saw him go to the train station. Even though I had gone to the train station, have you seen my son? Have you seen my son? But everyone's on their phones looking down, so no one had seen him. I don't know how he caught 6 stations away. But by doing that, by the power of social media, by the power of people connecting, they realized he got on the train. So the police knew to check those train lines. And then my kids Snapchatted, and their girlfriend's friend, sister's friend's friend saw him at Ingleburn Station.
And I think what the 3 of you have touched on in just this part 1 could go, like you say, this could be a 20-part series, but the insights that you've given us and the people that are watching around safety in the home and in familiar places, I think is just so invaluable. And we really do thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing your experiences with us today. That's all we have time for in this part 1. But it's, again, a big thank you to all 3 of you. You can visit all of the speakers on their links in the socials. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video to see part 2, which will be about autism and safety in unfamiliar spaces. For more information on autism, you can visit our website, autismawareness.com.au, and follow us on our socials, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. But thanks again so much for joining us, and look out for part 2 of our autism safety series.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.